The wealthy girl fell in love with a poor boy from the slums. Even the billionaire admired this boy who changed his fate with his own hands. However, the girl's brother saw him as a thorn in his side because today was the day the school announced the results of the student council election. While everyone waited for the final result, the principal walked onto the stage and handed Ethan a document. Ethan immediately announced his withdrawal from the election. But what William never expected was that when he was about to enjoy his victory, the students in the auditorium started leaving one after another. There were no cheers and no congratulations. Instead, they used their silence to show their dissatisfaction with William's victory. At that moment, William completely lost control of himself. To get rid of this obstacle standing in his way, he waited until no one was around and made a move against Ethan. Layla rushed to the hospital as soon as she heard the news. After seeing that Ethan was safe and sound, she finally let out a sigh of relief. But what she didn't know was that the person who sent Ethan to the hospital was actually her own brother. When Layla suddenly appeared in front of him, Ethan was surprised, but even more excited. When he took his medicine, Layla even gently brought the water to his lips herself. Looking at this kind and gentle girl in front of him, Ethan's heartbeat grew faster and faster. It was at this moment that Layla realized for the first time she had already fallen in love with this bright and kind-hearted boy. But in the next second, her heart sank. Because she noticed Ethan had been staring at his phone the whole time, Layla thought he was waiting for a message from someone important. She even started to suspect that there was already someone else in his heart. Just as she was about to ask him, her billionaire father walked into the hospital room. He urged Layla to go home immediately and let Ethan get some proper rest. However, they didn't know that at that moment, Ethan was going through a huge inner struggle in the hospital room because he suddenly remembered the tattoo on William's body. That symbol reminded Ethan of a story about a raven that his brother had told him when he was a child. A shocking possibility began forming in Ethan's mind. Late that night, someone secretly accessed the hospital's birth information system. Standing in front of the screen, Ethan desperately wanted to know who William really was. But the final result left him deeply disappointed. The system showed that Layla and William shared the same mother. In other words, William could not possibly be his brother. However, what Ethan failed to realize was that the only necklace that could prove his identity had already quietly fallen into someone else's hands. Until he received a photo, Ethan immediately realized something was wrong. He rushed to the bedside and checked the drawer. But at that exact moment, his phone suddenly rang. On the other end of the call, William said mockingly, "Can't find your necklace. You must be getting anxious, right?" Ethan angrily demanded to know what William wanted, but William refused to give him any answer. He simply hung up the phone, leaving Ethan alone in the hospital room, filled with anxiety. William walked around his house with this trophy in his hands. When his father passed by and saw the necklace around his neck, his expression instantly changed. He grabbed William and demanded to know how he got that necklace. Then he immediately pulled it off. When William nervously revealed that the necklace belonged to Ethan, Henry's expression became even more shocked. What was even more terrifying was that this place had always been William's childhood nightmare. No matter how much William begged for mercy, Henry did not stop. Then, the safe code was entered. A hidden box that had been kept secret for years was slowly opened. Inside, there was an identical necklace lying there. Henry's entire body began to tremble, but there was no happiness on his face. Instead, there was overwhelming anger.